Roger here. Chris.
And Dan.
Yeah, one.
Review of the minutes from the May 22nd meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? No? Okay.
I make the motion to accept the minutes from May 22nd.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public comment.
Comments first. Okay, I have a lot of comments, but I just didn't want to get through. So I will submit the rest of them in writing. So let me just cut to the chase for my personal issues first. I haven't seen the presentation, but I'm assuming that this solar panel array will be facing south-southwest from where it's proposed, which directs it directly at my house. So the glare, the heat, the noise, security lighting, aesthetics, and all of that will probably make my home unlivable. So that if I can't live in it, nobody else can. I won't be able to sell it. The property will essentially be worthless. And I will be homeless because if I can't sell it, I won't be able to afford to go anyplace else. So that's a big personal concern that I have. Just a little background. I'm Thomas Becker. I grew up on that farm. I helped my cousin Mike and his other his brothers and sisters, and my father and his father and my grandfather helped to farm that for 22 years. The other thing that's important here, I think, is for us to understand the practicality of this project. Pennsylvania is ranked one of the lowest states in the nation for solar radiation. We're located just above the 40th latitude. That's pretty far north. Our regional skies are hampered by in the milder months by prevailing weather patterns associated with the Mississippi and Ohio River Valley that produce frequent cloudy days, while in the colder months, the Great Lakes effect pattern produces clouds. We actually only have 4 to 5 months in this area of the year of ideal solar radiation to produce solar power. If you don't believe me, look it up on the government websites. The information is readily available out there. And Ligonier is located in the valley. We have Laurel Mountain on one side, we have Chestnut Ridge on the other side that blocks the early and late sunlight. And on top of that, they're putting this in a secondary valley within Ligonier Valley that's blocked on the west and the east also, and with high trees that further block it on either side. So the proposal here will generate, compared to other locations for solar power, it's not going to be a very good location. So, to me, why would they do this? This lacks common sense. That's the great thing about the new federal administration. They're all about common sense, and this lacks common sense. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Jan.
Hi, I have 2 handouts. One is recommendations for planners about conditions that should be included in the zoning code. And it's done by Penn State Extension. It's really good. Some of those are already in our code, but there are some other things I'd like you to consider because they maybe could be added for developers of solar projects. The other is just a general handout on solar energy. And I also provided my references if anybody's interested in reading those. One thing I want to mention before this starts is that, as most of us know, some of the things that aren't in our code would be added as conditions for people people who have concerns about the projects, because as it is a conditional use, and obviously developers not compelled to comply with those, but oftentimes they do, so concerns that people have. Also, my husband and I very much support renewable energies. They're safer, they're cleaner, there's no cancer risk to families, but I think everybody wants these projects to be done in the very best way possible. So thank you for your time on this. And I'll read the handouts that I have.
Wade Center.
I don't have anything to say right now. I'd just like to keep my name on the list in case. I think anything I would say is probably going to be covered. But at the end of the meeting, if we have an opportunity to speak again, I'd like to keep my name open for that.
So you don't have anything to say?
Not right now. I think you're going to cover it.
Okay. All right. Old business, we don't have anything listed under old business. So we will go right to new business. The first item is MDF consolidation plan. Speaking to that.
I will, this project I'm actually quite familiar with. They're looking to put a fence on his property. He has four lots. Fortunately, I was unable to permit that because he was crossing his lot lines. Yes, that's what he, do what he wanted to do. This is the solution. He's taking these four lots, combining it into one. We are not creating any conformities. It is in line with the zoning ordinance. The city enforcement officer has given his sign off on it, and also we are actually eliminating some non-conforming on this. Two of the properties don't have enough frontage, and one is too narrow. And he's just looking to make what on paper is how he's using it from parcel B.
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions on this? Comments? I'd like to entertain a motion that we recommend this on to the supervisors.
I'll recommend it.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Conditional use.
Madam Chairman, perhaps I know we'd be going out of order, but perhaps we should hear the correspondence from Loyal Handle Watershed as it pertains to our deliberation of the Becker property. Do we need to make a motion?
Well, I'm just not sure what we want to do with it right now.
Well, isn't the watershed letter pertinent to our discussion?
Yes, yeah, I think we ought to get just a little class of what we're doing here, and then we can.
But new business will be done.
We got a lot of time. I understand what you're saying, Chris, and I think it's a good idea, but I did want to say something in advance. Our main concern as a planning commission is for the safety, health, and welfare of the residents of this community. So we're going to take our time on this and listen to a lot of input, listen to everything that's going on, because this is the first solar farm in our township. And we want to make sure that we handle this correctly. So I would like to take Chris up on his comments about the letter from Royal Hannah. I'm going to need a motion for our agreement that we will go ahead and read this.
I make the motion to read the correspondence pertinent to the Becker plan before we discuss the new business of the solar. Anybody second?
I've already read it.
Well, I read it too. I thought you wanted to read it to the public. All right, we're good.
Okay. this opposition, who is speaking on behalf of it? Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on? I know we have a lot of questions, but I think we need to hear.
I figured Dan would go and give us a little direction first, and then we would hear Bill from SolarVest, and then we'd probably get into some questions.
Sure.
You're up.
Everyone knows this is a conditional use. In each zoning district, there are permitted uses, there are special exceptions, there are conditional uses, there are some uses that aren't allowed at all. And here we're dealing with a property that's zoned A1, it's agricultural. And as you also know, every use has to have a place. You can't say we don't like certain uses and therefore they don't belong anywhere in our township. So it has to go somewhere. A1, which this property is, has this use listed as a conditional use, which means that it is decided not by the zoning hearing board, but by the supervisors who are making that determination as a quasi-judicial board. And then they issue a written decision within 45 days of the last hearing, and there will be a public hearing. But first it has to come to you guys as the planning commission to make a recommendation. And I've given you portions of our zoning ordinance to have in front of you. And really the way to think about it is that because this has already been classified as a conditional use, this solar project in general, this type of use, is a permitted use in this district, but certain requirements have to be met. For example, specific standards in more detailed and formal review is required for any use that is a conditional use. So our zoning ordinance has general considerations. There are about 5 of them, and I've given them to you. And then there's a specific section regarding solar energy systems, and it's A through F, or excuse me, A through G. Now, D and E are zoning permit considerations, which are for Mr. Kraus as the zoning officer. And I think when you get down to the nuts and bolts or into the weeds of things, there will be, assuming this were to be approved, there's still going to be a zoning permit process where Mr. Kraus and our engineer, and us, they will go over the stormwater plan, all the 8 or 9 different things in D and E of here. So really, we're looking at, in this presentation today from the applicant, and ultimately it's going to end with you guys making a recommendation to the supervisors who have a public hearing already scheduled. Make a recommendation one way or another, but if you look at 120-87, 1 through 5, there are general considerations. So you should keep those in mind. And one of them, for example, is in accordance and consistent with the zoning chapter. Well, I've also given you the purpose of our zoning chapter. I highlighted that in section 120-1. It's generally about health, safety, welfare, those sort of things. But I think you should listen to the presentation and formulate your questions based on the 5 general considerations, and then also the specific things that I think Mr. Kraus can help with too, since he's gone over a lot of these things already, setbacks and those sorts of things. But that would be A through G, with the exception of D and E. So.
Is there going to be a test on this? Thank you.
Sure.
Rick, should we start with the presentation?
Bill from SolarVest is here to give us a little show.
Can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
you like your stand, or can I sit?
Well, stand and introduce yourself.
My name is Bill French. I'm the Regional Director of Product Development for SolarVest Solar LLC. We're the applicant here. I was proposing a 3 megawatt solar facility. Big. We all love our. Put the results records on the shelf. In any case, yeah, so I'm here representing the SolarVest Solar. We're the applicant on the property.
And you work for SolarVest.
I am the Regional Director of Product Development for SolarVest. Yes, I'm an employee of SolarVest.
Thank you. Now, you can go ahead and sit.
I'll say it. I'm good now. I'll tell you a little bit about who SolarVest is. We were founded in 2009. Since that time, we've grown to be one of the national leaders in solar development. We are headquartered in Chicago. I actually live about 60 miles outside of Chicago. We have another office in Geneva, Illinois, which is where I work. Since that time, we've grown to become a fully integrated solar platform. What I mean by that is that not only do we do leasing for the property, permitting, but we also construct the project and then own and operate it. So I tell you that because our intent is not to just be a simple developer, which would be somebody who would come in and get the permit and sell it to somebody else. So we would be our intent is to be long-term operating the project. You see here, as I mentioned, we really are Midwest-based. I would say the vast majority of our projects are in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. However, I have developed projects in Maine. We're developing projects in Mexico, and also projects as far west as Hawaii. So we are a national developer operating in 80 states. We're also building. Yes.
I want to ask a question.
Oh, please.
Have you done anything in Pennsylvania?
We have not built a project in Pennsylvania.
West Virginia or Ohio?
No. So this would be our first venture into. I'm currently working on about seven different projects at once here in Pennsylvania. Yes, sir.
Bill, what made you pick Ligonier?
Well, that's a great question. It's always a question that comes up. First of all, we wanted to be in the first energy market. We didn't want to operate in the co-ops or the smaller regions. So that was the first one. So we located the map, figure out where we were in the first energy location. Secondly, find landowners who are interested. And so we did back in 1819, kind of did a mass mailing. And actually the Beckers were one of the few here that responded to us and were interested. So be First Energy, you want to find a landowner who's interested because it's a volunteer program. And then next you find if you have a good interconnection, because we're going to tie into First Energy system. And what do I mean by that? We're responsible for any upgrades that are going to be made to the system for tying our project in. So we want to find that there's some reasonable upgrade costs associated with that, otherwise the economics. And then also this project was free and clear. It's not wooded. Obviously it's Pennsylvania, so it's a little bit hilly, but that was one of the other factors.
So what won't you do with co-ops?
Normally, because co-ops, they're going to buy their energy from somebody else typically anyway. So for us, it's just easier for us to go straight to utilities.
Easier.
It's a clear path, and there's more interest in it. Usually co-ops also are looking at gas.
Am I correct in reading this that originally you signed the lease with Beckers like almost 5 years ago?
Yes.
Okay, a little bit like the fracking industry, you don't produce within that time limit, all bets are off.
Right. So we actually do that. We do an extension with them, so we've extended the option term with them. So.
And then the residents of Ligonier Valley, their electric bills are going to go down.
I can't speak for that. So that's really up to you, though.
Where does the electricity go to?
So the electricity goes on to First Energy system. And so anyone who's First Energy customer would be benefiting by the additional energy generation. So just a little background, obviously we know all this, but I got it for the record. The landowner is Michael Becker family, who live on 111 Spring Road, which is where the project is located. We are the applicant. It's SolarVest Solar, but we're doing business as living near CSG 1 LLC. Obviously,
What's the difference with that?
it's kind of like you create actually a special purpose entity for each project, and that's for financing purposes. It's easier to move it, to get financed when it's a single project where you bundle it together with a couple of others, as opposed to it all being under the SolarVest LLC.
And also limits their liability.
Your son does.
Yeah. He is correct. It does limit liability. It limits liability to the overall company, which is SolarVest.
Every multinational corporation in America
Yes,
does
does
that.
that.
This is nothing shady.
So we know what the project is on the Springer Road. The project size inside the fence is approximately 18 acres, but it's on a parcel of 137 acres. Currently used for agricultural, and we're designated a special use or a conditional use permit. And it's off. This is the site location map for the site. This is actually the highlighted area is the portion we have leased. We didn't actually go and try to lease the whole parcel. It's only about 37, 38 acres of leased area. The road, kind of at the north end of it, that's where the Beckers live. That's the residence. It kind of gives you an indication of where it is.
Now, where on the map is that? Can't tell. So the left is your.
I don't know where Thomas Becker lives. Are you the bottom right?
Bottom right.
Okay. You're the brick house, the brick ranch?
Right there.
Okay, fine.
Are you the brick ranch house?
Yes.
Okay. So here's our site plan. We're proposing here to use a single axis tracker. What that means is it rotates with the sun during the day, so it's tracking the sun during the day. It's designed to do that. There's a question about glare. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But that's what we'll propose here. It's all on some steel racking. Most of the racking is put in the ground, and most of the work is done by hand. It's handwork, putting it all, assembling it all. We're going to take our access off the south end of the project there. There's an existing farm entrance that crosses over the creek, and we'd like to utilize that, so that's why the entrance is down there. So there are there are no impact of wetlands on the property. We're going to avoid that. There's minimal tree clearing, and when I say tree clearing, it's really just fence rows that have been left over time. So it's not as if we're going to be clear cutting an area here. We're just going to be cleaning up and removing some of the fence rows and some of the other vegetation. There is floodplain located along Springer Road, but we're not impacting that. And so when I say it's no floodplain has been identified in the site, what I'm referring to is our project area. So we are not going to be impacting any floodplain in the project area. We did have a glare study prepared and submitted. That should be in your packets. And if I could read it.
Glare studies not in there, that's not in there. There's one copy of it there.
Oh, not everyone got a copy of it?
Huh?
Not everyone got a copy of it?
No, that wasn't.
As part of our application, we did submit a glare study, which is a requirement of the ordinance. And I'll just read what it says.
Yeah, I have it.
She has one.
Yeah, there was one, I made one copy just of that.
So as you can see, it's a fairly extensive report that they put together.
The glare study was in the email.
Yeah, that's it.
If you go to page 7, it's really the last part. No glare is predicted to be modeled to the model residences or rods using either a 7.5 foot or a 4.5 foot array at the OPS with the records there. So the glare study is saying that there really won't be any glare impact to the surrounding residences.
Ben, do you have any comments on this?
The glare study, I think, once we get to land development, my biggest comment associated with that is it needs to be submitted and needs to be back.
Okay.
It's not now.
Yeah, it was prepared by Westwood Engineering. They're out of Minnesota. So we do have that there. And then we also had a sound study prepared.
Bill, I have a question. So how many acres will these panels cover?
About 18.
About 18?
Yes, sir. 18 of the 137 acres of this parcel. They also own land on the other side of the road, we're not including that. And what it, the property is used for grazing and for hay. They do raise cattle on the property, they do moving around. But this is just a small portion of their overall property. So they would continue to still farm, do what they're doing. This is just like I said, you've got about 18 acres of 137. As was stated, we also have a sound study, which was prepared. There is a summary at the back. I'll read it in. It says, an operational noise impact evaluation of the project was conducted. The proposed project layout talks about the noise propagation from each inverter was modeled. The inverter is what actually changes the solar from direct current, which is how we produce it, into alternate current, which is how all of our electric system works. It does state in here the predicted project generated noise levels at the project property line do not exceed the applicable limit of 50 decibels set forth in the Liberty Township sign code. So we did provide that. I'm sure you'll probably want to review that again too, but if you want that standard, we need that standard as well.
Can you describe the sound for them?
The sound for them. It's a 60 cycle hum. 60 cycles is what all of our electricity runs on. It's the amount of cycling. Given point it is per second, honestly. If it works, it's going to sound like any noise, background noise you hear. It would be less, 50 decibels would be less than a refrigerator. To give you kind of an indication of what 50 decibels is. The sound itself is just a hum, but the sound level would be about 50 decibels, which is about, it would be less than 50 decibels to the property line, which is about the sound of a refrigerator.
So aside from will I see this from the valley floor?
You see what?
These panels?
Yes, absolutely. We're set back the required distance in the ordinance. But yes, it would be seen. I'm not, especially because it's on a slope. Solar panels, they really provide, as I've stated, minimal to no glare. Panels are designed to absorb sunlight, not reflect it. So there's actually a non-reflective surface on the panel itself that's used. Solar farms, they're really pretty quiet during the day and they're silent at night. So when the sun goes down, everything shuts off, so they are silent at night. These particular panels at full tilt will be about 9 feet tall. I think actually a little bit shorter, but I give a little extra on you. Really at 7 feet 10 inches, but they're about 9 feet tall. Once the project is up and operational, there's a little traffic generated. The site will be visited, periodically once or twice a month. Someone's going to show up in a pickup truck, maybe two, and that's about it.
I like at least once a year, the information that
That's what I read too.
I think general maintenance would be once a year. Somebody might come and double check out stuff. So solar panels are clean, they're safe, they don't emit emissions. They require very little maintenance. As I said, panels are inspected, once or twice a year for maintenance and cleaning. But like I said, somebody might come and just double check on things maybe once a month, once or twice.
Where would they come from?
Where would they come from? We'll probably hire somebody local, especially here where we have several projects in Pennsylvania. They are monitored off-site, so they're monitored 24/7, which means there's a